Let's begin. So this is a little different than what I normally have done in the past for my balance classes. I've done this type of thing before. It's been a while though. And kind of the whole aspect of this was to teach people who are interested the different aspects of balance, at least from my perspective, and potentially how you can improve them, and to just give you kind of a different mindset on balance. Um, because a lot of older adults, when they get to a certain age, are like, my balance is bad. Like, what happened? And then their answer is, my balance is bad. There's no really like rhyme or reason of like what potential things could have led to poor balance. So this is from a lot of experience working with individuals and yeah, breaking it down. So balance in itself, and I'll show a bunch of exercises. It'll kind of be just a little bit of instruction. We'll do some exercises, a little bit of instruction. We'll do some exercises. So the beginning is just kind of setting up what we're getting into. So balance, simply put, from my perspective, is just the ability to be able to stand and move around in a steady fashion where you feel comfortable. And that's obviously a very subjective term. For some people, they need to be able to do very, very crazy things like professional athletes where their balance needs to be very fine-tuned. Most of us just need to be able to move in a fairly easy manner, okay? So as older adults will get older, one of the big reasons why they struggle is just because of a loss of activity. When you retire, a lot of times you're like, okay, this is great, so I'm just gonna chill. And absolutely, you earned it, but there is a cost where if you chill too much, of course, you lose a lot of your physical capabilities. And what people don't think about, just like doing math problems or studying for a test, if you don't continually practice moving, whether it's balance or doing things that get your body stronger, your body has no reason to keep those attributes of fitness. So practicing even just a few times a week balance drills is incredibly crucial to keeping that. Um, so when I create my or have created my balance routine programs or work with seniors or just any individual, I try to break down balance into 5 components. And the 5 components are static balance, dynamic balance, your agility or ability to move quick, visual and audio cues, and then your core strength. So I'm going to go through all of these and show you a few different drills that you can do for each of those aspects. And then to be honest, I'll probably think of some on the fly. We'll do some together, and there'll be time. I mean, it's pretty open and free. You can ask questions when we're doing them. If you have pain in certain areas, this is pretty open for all of you. So first thing is static balance, and we can go ahead and stand up now. So static balance is what people normally think of when we refer to balance. And this is simply being able to be steady and not moving, okay? So static balance is literally just when you're standing still, how steady can you be? Very important part of balance, because we do spend a lot of time like this, standing in line, etc., doing whatever we need to do. But it's not the end all. So a few ways that we can improve our static balance is literally just standing in general. And this seems very silly, but if you think about it, there are some people, and I've seen this firsthand, who even just standing in place is extremely difficult. So whenever you feel bad about your balance, if you can stand in place, give yourself a pat on the back, because this is something that not a lot of people can do, especially once you get to those older ages. From there, we can move into what I call like a tandem progression. And you have probably, if you've gone to physical therapy at all, might have heard of this. Another way to look at it is doing half step holds. So we can start by bringing our feet together. When you bring your feet together, it's going to narrow your base a little bit. And anytime you narrow your base, it makes your balance a little bit trickier. You might already feel a little bit more wobbly in this position. Again, very small change, but your balance greatly increased in what you need to be able to hold this. From here, we can stagger our stance a little bit. So this would be a semi-tandem, or what I call a half-step hold. Again, feet are going to be together, but we're still very, very unbalanced from here. And the interesting thing about this too, it's like It's a very small change, very subtle. So if this is too much, you can even go back and do like a quarter step. It's all relative. So when you're working at these at home, you can kind of progress and like say, hey, I'm doing quarter step holds, etc. Maybe next week I'm going to try half step, forward, forward, forward. The hardest variation of this will be a full heel to toe step, where basically your feet are going to be straight and in line. This is a good time to check and make sure you have your chair in a good place for you, because this is when it can get wobbly. Probably will get wobbly. And when you're doing these two, always a good thing. Once you do them for like 30 seconds to a minute, you then flip sides, making sure you get equal balance work. You'll probably notice, depending on what foot is dominant, and maybe if there's a foot or a leg that has more pain, one side will likely be easier, potentially because you've been compensating it over the years. So very, very good time to make sure you are getting equal work. And although it seems subtle too, you're actually getting a decent amount of leg strengthening and mobility through just a simple position like this, okay? If you feel your body moving around, that means all the muscles in your body are working to keep you from moving around, all right? So static balance, super simple, good starting point. I'll actually show you one more drill with the balance pad here. And really simple. If you don't have a balance pad and you want some stuff to do at home for improving your static balance, these are a great thing. These ones are actually cool because they Velcro together, so you can either make it a big one or rip it apart. There'll be two smaller ones, so depending on if you want to travel and stuff. I'll give each of you, I'll actually demonstrate with one, and then you can kind of just mess around with this. You can play with it and then pass around. Lots of different drills you can do with this from a static balance standpoint. Obviously, if it's in a full pad, you can just stand on it like before. And the second you stand on anything that's unstable, you can even use something like a pillow or towel stacked up at home. You're already going to feel it. The ground is ungiving, and anything that's ungiving is going to be a little bit tougher on your balance. I have a Special Olympics athlete I work with. When we go anywhere, if she's like traveling through even mud, she has very, very poor balance, and that little bit of unsteadiness, I can very, very easily see it with her. So it seems very subtle, but it can make a big difference. From there, you can do all the variations we just did. So semi, I don't have a lot of space on here, but a half step hold. You can even do full. This is really going to test me. Full heel to toe. Obviously, you'd probably have the full thing for that one. And yeah, a few variations. So I guess I'll pass this one over now, and we'll try to converge in the middle. So maybe just take like 30 seconds to just kind of mess around with the the balance pad. And if you're interested, I can get you guys links or just show you where to get those afterwards. So I guess since those are going around, I'll show you one more static balance drill that I really like, and it is the tree pose. So tree pose is very simple. It will start with your feet in kind of a T position like this. And you don't have to do it if you're doing it on the balance pad. This is just to give people who've already had the balance pad something else to do. Tree pose, your feet will be kind of in a T. And then from here, the next step is bringing your heel slightly off the ground. Your base is a little less stable. You can then go even more, a little less stable. Yes, about 80% of my leg. Is your heel touching your other leg? Correct. Yep, very slightly. It's not digging into it, so you don't want it to be uncomfortable, but just enough so it kind of like catches your balance and keeps you upright. It's not easy. It's almost like walking onto ice for the first time if you've ever ice skated. You're like, oh yeah, that's not as easy as people make it look. So yeah, and then from there you can just keep riding up to your toe is then just on the ground. And then if you're really comfortable, you can even bring your full foot off the ground to where we call like a full tree pose. This would be pretty advanced. Again, make sure, thank you. Make sure, did you want to try it, Gary? I'm sorry. kept him off. Yeah. Super simple. If you don't want to buy one of these, no problem. towels or pillows at home will mimic those very well. In addition to that, once you've mastered static balance is a good base, and if you don't have good static balance, the rest of these will be very, very hard. So if you look at somebody and they can barely stand up in place, you'll probably be thinking when we do some of these next things, there's no way they'll be able to do the next few. Mastering those is good once you get to those. Thank you very much. We can add some next ones. So dynamic balance is essentially taking what we have from static balance, good base, and transitioning into moving. So dynamic is usually just moving. This is very noticeable when we're doing activities of daily living, like going out for a walk with our dog or our friends, maybe just walking up some curbs into the grocery store, walking across a parking lot, anytime where we need to move and be steady on our feet. Vacation, walking through the airport, picking up things at different angles, right? That would be dynamic balance. And these are some of my fun things. So we're gonna do some drills with the hurdles in a second. But the first one we're going to do to practice dynamic balance is a heel to toe walk. So go ahead and find a line, about a 5-foot segment, 5 to 7 foot segment of a line. And we're going to be doing a heel to toe walk on this. And few variations. If you are somebody who struggles with doing a full heel to toe walk, that would be heel to toe touching. You can do a half step walk like we did earlier. So in the static balance, if you recall, we actually did a semi-tandem or a half step. You can do the same concept where you're kind of doing like not a full heel to toe walk. So we're adding a little bit of the complexity from that static balance. Again, we started with just holding this position. Now, just a little bit of movement makes it incredibly more difficult, right? Incredibly more difficult. If you're at home, you can set out a piece of string to do this. You can maybe even set out like a line, roll of towels. You can get some tape. I've done that before. Some duct tape just straight on the ground. Maybe even go outside. They might have lines in wherever you're going. If you're really crazy at this too, crazy is a good thing. You might want to try it backwards. Again, this is once you're to a point. And if you did want to try it backwards, but you're not too comfortable, you can hold on to something and kind of do it in place where you're kind of going back, reset, back, reset. Just a few different options. Again, very easy things to do at home. Some stuff and equipment that you might not have experience with, and this is one, if you're comfortable, we'll all do this together. We're going to do 2 drills combined with this one. And I will show you in a second. So I actually don't get a lot of time to utilize these anymore, so it kind of is fun. If you've ever done like hurdles or agility work in high school for sports, this might kind of remind you of that. We're going to do similar exercises to something that an athlete might do, but just obviously not at the speed and intensity that they would do it. So with these and how I think this is going to work, we'll get a line and we're going to go around this one first and then come back and we'll do that. So I'll demonstrate it one time. With these cones, we're going to do what I call a slalom, where you start on one side of these and then basically you walk through these in an S fashion as fast as you comfortably can. When you do that, you'll notice your body is shifting side to side, and it will take a good amount of balance to be able to hold yourself up while moving somewhat quickly, okay? You don't need to, I don't want you to hurt yourself, but just a little bit quicker of a step than normal. These are where we're going to practice going over it. So this would be mimicking like stepping up over something on a curb. If there's something on the ground that's just obviously something you want to avoid out in the parking lot or something, this is going to mimic that. These are really cool because they have different levels of the size. If you're not comfortable going up and over these, just come to the side of them, and you can either do kind of just like a step somewhat over the side, or even just kind of like use your imagination and you can step up. We'll do it on that direction though, so then these people who are going that way. So yeah, we'll just start a line, and if you're not comfortable, you can watch people first. I'm sure we got a few people who are pretty okay in doing it, but yeah, come on down. We'll probably just do this. Excellent dynamic drills. If you have towels at home, just like I mentioned, you can set these up like so. You might even have a grandkid who actually has some cones that you can do. And when you're doing this too, just really notice like your body shifting, how your feet react. It's going to be a different position than you're normally used to. And on any of these drills, if you want to try to do them a little bit faster, wait maybe a little bit for the person in front of you to go, so then you can really try to do it with a little bit more speed and intensity. So you can see just adding those tiny little implements, little things here and there, stuff you have around your home, books, etc. You can make in kind of a safe fashion little obstacle courses for yourself. And it may seem very subtle too, but we have to remind ourselves all of these little changes of balance, all of these little lifts we're doing with our leg are something out of the norm of what we normally do. And anytime you're challenging yourself out of the norm of what you normally do in fitness, that's how you improve. Very, very small things, just a little bit of repetition. We'll do one more time. We'll do one more time. So everyone will go 3 times through, and then that should cover dynamic balance pretty solid. And I also should remind everyone the power of your imagination too. If you don't have money or don't want to buy anything, you can visualize these things on the ground. You can literally just do an S with your body. You can imagine there being little hurdles or like a fence you're stepping over. These are just tactile, so if you hit them, you can know. A little easier to tell where you're at.
Something like that in physical therapy.
Yes, very, very common. And it's something I always reiterate too to people. The idea of getting stronger is to hopefully get to a point where you don't need to get to physical therapy. Like physical therapy is not something that you're destituted to just because you're getting a little bit older. The people who keep with their fitness and doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit of maintenance work. A lot of them completely avoid going to physical therapy just because of that thing. Excellent. Feel free to take your seat. Again, all of these things are ideas of ways that you can work your balance and fitness when you're at home. It doesn't have to be exactly like this way, just different things. And when you start letting your imagination kind of take run of, oh, let me challenge my balance in this way, or we did something like that and I don't have exactly that implement, but I got a box of cereal I can step over. I don't know why I thought of that, but box of cereal. I probably would not do that. I'd stay away from the food. Okay, so agility is the next aspect, and agility is the ability to move quickly in your balance. And what a lot of people don't realize is when you are falling, obviously the people who can move quickly to catch themselves from a fall won't injure themselves from a fall. So this is more of a fall prevention aspect in case you do fall. A lot of this stuff we want to avoid you from even falling to begin with, but it does happen. Sometimes you get hit off kilter, your grandkids come in, or you just have kids and they like hit you on the side and you're like, wow, that's a lot more. If you're not strong enough and have enough agility and quickness to catch yourself, you're going to fall and potentially hurt yourself. So agility, the ability to be able to move precise and quick. Precise and quick. So one of the drills I use, I have this thing. We'll go ahead and stand up for this. It's called foot taps. It's called foot taps. So I guess you can do this seated too. But what you're going to do is find some type of object on the ground. Very, very simple exercise. And you're going to start very slow, kind of at a easy speed. And you're just going to tap the dot. Tap the dot. So right now we're working precision. We're working the ability of our legs to be precise and touch the dot. From here, since it's an agility drill, we want to start to move a little bit quicker, okay? So we're still being precise with our feet, as in tapping that exact place, but we're going a little bit quicker. And then once you're warmed up, you can do that. It doesn't need to be a long time. You're gonna do it as quickly as you can, okay? And with whatever's on the ground, I recommend people to try to do it to a point where they're tapping it very lightly to the point where it doesn't move, but still moving their body as quickly as possible. Because if we think about it, you can keep going, do 15 more seconds. If you think about it, and there's stuff on the ground, maybe there's like a water bottle that you're trying to avoid stepping onto. If you're able to move quickly, but then stop it midair just to a point where then you tap it lightly, that's a lot of good motor control through your leg, in addition to the ability to move quick and stop it, okay? Good, go ahead and stop. Yeah, so if you dance or do Zumba or anything, you'll pretty much get a lot of the agility aspect, but if you've never done anything or you've never been in a sport, this is gonna be moving your body in a very different way, in a very subtle and easy way to begin with. Okay, so what we're gonna do next, I'm gonna put, we'll give, I don't know how many of these I have. I think I got enough. So I'm gonna put a cone hopefully in front of, I just have some people share. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so what I want you to do, oh, I do have a bunch more. I'm gonna put a cone out in front of me. This is called a shuttle run. This is one of my favorite drills, very easily. If you're at home, you basically will put a marker 5 to 10 feet out in front of you, and you're gonna practice running up to it, stopping, and then going back to where you started as quickly as possible, okay? When you're first starting out, you can literally make it just the distance of a walk length. Once you get a little bit better and more proficient at it, you can actually step back and make it a few steps, so then your stop has to be a little more drastic, and then you still come back to the initial point, okay? So let's see here. So all you're gonna do is literally take maybe one really big and quick step, stop on the drill. We'll flip you around. So here, get exactly a perfect amount. There you are. So the idea here is to work quickly, moving as quickly as you can. So you want to go dun dun stop, okay? Very different from how we're used to doing, but yeah, good. And you're also working a lot of your tendons and ligaments that don't get used to that movement of stopping on a dime. Takes a lot of good connective tissue health to do that.
Are we back to that?
Yeah, it really depends. If you're comfortable doing a couple quick steps backwards, by all means, it will be tougher that way. If you want to just kind of open your hips and walk back quickly forward, doesn't matter. Either way, it will be tougher to go backwards. If you imagine like people in the NFL that run backwards, it will be tougher that way. But of course, this is all relative for you. If you can handle it and you're comfortable doing it, feel free.
They take a lot of money.
They do. Yeah, no time. It's cool.
Pick my team or do they?
I'll let you know at the end of this. Go ahead and move back to your place. Another thing that you can do with this, if you want to, you can have an object on the ground to pick up. So say you have about a 10-foot segment, you can, again, just imagine this 10-foot. This is only a little bit just because of space. 10-foot segment, you can have a ball or something on the ground, so then you run up to it, reach down, pick it up, bring it back to your initial place, and then put it down. Working core strength to be able to bend down and pick the ball up, or whatever object. You could literally put like a basket of laundry on the ground. You could put like a book bag with some heavy stuff in it, pick it up, bring it back, all for quickness. Just another bit of complexity. If you aren't very comfortable doing this fast, it might feel a little scary for you, so maybe leave that for another time. But yeah, very simple drill, and you can do it with as much space as you have, even if you just have a 5-foot segment in front of you. Quick foot, quick foot. Okay, cool. We're gonna rip through these next couple. Oh yeah, yeah. Feel free to, yeah. By all means, please. Very functional. This is stuff we do all the day, like, or need to do multiple times a day, and all we're doing is just practicing it in a kind of controlled setting. It's perfect. Because if we think about normal life, it doesn't always move slowly. Ideally, yeah, we'd like to go with the flow, but sometimes we have 5 minutes to get ready in the morning and it's icy out, so we need to be able to move quickly doing these things, having a good enough fitness level to do that. Not saying you need to. Someday we'll be able to fly over the ice. Okay, so visual and audio cues. So seniors, a lot of them, for whatever reason, sometimes it's genetics, sometimes it's because of poor checkups and stuff, vision and hearing goes down. And vision and hearing are heavily related to your ability to balance. It's basically your perception of the outside world and being able to sense the room around you. If you can't see well and if you can't hear well, it makes it tougher to balance. It's very interesting. So somebody with bad hearing and bad vision, it might not be because their balance bad. It might be that their hearing's bad, which is actually making their balance bad. So something to consider if you don't get checkups on that stuff. It very well could be what's called a vestibular issue. So a few ways that you can work this. Go ahead and stand up. First one's very simple. You're going to start with your feet together, and when you're comfortable and have your hands near that chair, you will close your eyes. Closing your eyes, very challenging, as we just discussed. That will take a huge aspect out of balance because you literally cannot see where you are in space, so your body has to make all the adjustments from where it feels itself in the ground, okay? Hand near the chair. We will do this for 10 seconds. Very nice. Go ahead and open your eyes. Next one we're going to do is same thing, but we're going to close our ears first. I say closing our ears. It doesn't seem like it's going to make that big of a difference, but when we do it with our eyes too. So ears first, as much as you can. You can either go like this or this. Doesn't matter. Just get a nice firm grasp. And then when you're ready, close your eyes and see where you're at. All right, go ahead and open up. Again, something very different. Yes?
When I brush my teeth, I shut my eyes. I got stuff right, anything I can hang on to.
Very cool. I do, I usually do a single leg hold. Yes, very, very easy time to practice your balance. I practice single leg holds every time in the morning. From there, you can combine them. You can also still have your eyes open, but you can practice gazing to your left and your right. Again, feet together, up and down, just changing the perception. And you probably noticed this whenever you were doing stuff in gym class. They would tell you to stay and look at one thing. That'll make it easier. You can do the complete opposite to make it harder. All these things are, of course, free, and that's kind of the idea, is to give you just some little things that you can do. You got 5 minutes. Cool. So it just gives you another aspect of now 4 different things comprising good balance. Last thing is core strength. So having good strength, not just through your tummy muscles, but your entire core. Your core goes all the way around your spine, your tummy muscles, the side of your core, and your lower back. If you don't have a strong core, you won't be able to transfer the force very well of leaning and then needing to kind of stay upright, okay? So there's a few things that you can do at home, and I'll show you some of them. One of the ones I like to do is just called balance leans, where you lean to the side, left or right, it doesn't matter. You do both of them and just hang tight. This is gonna work your obliques, side of your core. If you have your feet together like this, it will work your balance quite a bit. You can stagger your feet like we did earlier. This will make it really, really tough, so use that with caution. Again, working both sides, both directions, super simple way. You can also go forward and backward. Going forward like this will kind of work your lower back, and you're simply going to try to hold this position That's all you're doing. It may seem subtle, but you're literally working your lower back in an isometric hold. And the lower you go, the tougher it'll be on your balance and the tougher it'll be on your lower back. It's whatever's more comfortable for you. It's whatever's more comfortable for you. I don't think it really matters as long as you're looking at something stable. It really depends because some people might like looking straight down kind of at their feet. I'm used to looking up just because like when I lift and stuff, so it's really preference. And you can try different spaces. It'll probably be a little bit tougher for whatever your preference is, but good question. Okay. Again, doesn't particularly matter. You will get more of a hamstring stretch if you keep your knees straight, but it really is preference. You will probably notice it's a little bit easier if your knees are slightly bent, just because that's kind of an athletic position going down. But it really is preference. I wouldn't really focus on it too much. Just know that anytime you're bending in any direction and holding it, you're working your core, okay? Bending over in any position, back, forward, side to side, you're working your core in a multitude of directions, which will improve your balance. One of the other things that I will bring to fruition, very cool thing, if you're able to bring in your own groceries, and if you don't normally do it, I'd highly recommend. Great time to practice unilateral strength, which will improve your balance and core strength. I have a really small dumbbell. Imagine there's like 50 pounds of groceries in my hand. When you come in, most of the time, physical therapists and people will probably tell you, make sure you're balanced, make sure you're even. Yes, most of the time I would recommend that if you have a lot. But if you have a very small bag of groceries with maybe, or even like a gallon of milk, I would definitely recommend to try walking all the way from your car inside with just one thing in your hand. Because what it's doing is it's pulling your body down to the side. So how do you get your body upright? You need to use the opposite core muscle, so it'll strengthen that side, and your balance to keep you from literally falling all the way over. So it's kind of one of those things you have to assess where your fitness level is. But if you're fairly decent and you feel comfortable doing it, that's maybe 3 to 4 trips of weighted loads on one side in and out at a pretty decent range that you're getting just from being a little more mindful about how you take in your groceries. Anything around the house too. Maybe you have, let's say example, your clothes, or you're just moving stuff around. Again, super simple, easy thing to do is just take the basket and walk around with one side instead of keeping it balanced. I would normally say to keep it balanced, but yes, every once in a while it's good to practice bending in an unnatural plane to strengthen those muscles in an unnatural plane and to work your balance in an unnatural plane because the world is very unnatural. That's basically mainly it. So what I can give you is just remember, like, this is all practice. You don't have to do all of these. It's just to give you a different aspect of balance and realize there is a lot more than just my balance is bad because I can't stand up. Vision, dynamic, being able to move properly, being able to move quickly, and then having good core strength. All things to consider, not stuff you all need to do, but all can do. On my website, I actually created what I call like a 21 Days to Better Balance program where I have a lot of these aspects in it. It's a free thing you can go download. It's on allstrongfitness.org. And it's like just a daily easy program. And it has like 50 of these types of exercises in it too.